Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is going to be my week 4 battle for the BBL, season number 2. We're going up against the one and only Gypsy King, coach of the Sydney Sharpedos. As you guys may know, Gypsy is widely considered to be one of, if not the absolute best, draft league player that's out there. He has numerous titles from leagues like ITL and NPL and all over the place. So it's definitely a tough matchup, one that I'm definitely looking forward to. Let me quickly read off his roster for you guys. So he has on his squad Wifi, Latias, Regigigas, Lando T, Ho-Oh, Claydol, Magirna, Marini, Mega Slowbro, and Ferrothorn. And so it's a pretty funny draft because he has like 7 S-tier mons combined with 3 F-tier mons. Although, like, it's funny, Marini, yes, it's like F-tier, quote-unquote, but I was actually really scared of it in this matchup. The team that I brought, I don't think is very well equipped to deal with Marini. But he's been able to use this roster and propel himself to a 3-0 record like ourselves. He's the only team in the league that's got a better differential than us at the moment. He, I believe, is plus 14 compared to our plus 12. Definitely a great battle, one that that I've been looking forward to, and that the league has been looking forward to. One thing I will say is that because like we're both in pretty good position here in BBL this season to make playoffs, that and the fact that we're probably going to rematch in playoffs makes this individual match a little bit less important, if you ask me, because even if I lose, like I think I'll still make playoffs, to be honest. Because I think we're gonna have a potential rematch, I don't want to reveal all my best strats. So I didn't bring my A team. I would say I brought like a good team, but I didn't spend a lot of time revising it or doing mocks or anything like that. And then I'm also not going to do an in-depth team builder and talk about the team that I've brought. I'll just kind of talk vaguely about what I've brought based on the moves that were revealed in the match. Like, I'm not going to kid myself and think that Gypsy can't figure out what I've brought. Like, he's way too smart for that. But I'm not going to make it any easier for him, you know what I mean? With that said, I did bring a mixed offensive Arceus Dark. I brought a bulky Piloswine. I've brought a Choice Banded Scizor. I brought a fast offensive Heatran. I brought a physically defensive Leftovers Primarina. And I brought a Choice Scarf Archeops. I don't think that the Scarf was necessarily revealed, but again, like, I'm sure that he knows based on the way that I played it, it was Scarf. And Gypsy has brought Weavile, Lando T, Magirna, Latias, Mega Slowbro, and Ho-Oh. So most of the team makes sense to me. Weavile is fast enough to outspeed Arceus, potentially throw off a very powerful low kick versus it, if it's like Choice Banded or something like that. Lando is like scary in general because it's a good ground type, and I don't have amazing responses to ground types on my team. Magirna on paper is his best way to deal with my Arceus Dark if he brings like an Akaberry set. That said, just like a normal Shift Gear Magirna is pretty scary versus my team, especially if he brings Fight Z, because Fight Z allows him to break through Scizor and Heatran fairly effectively. He doesn't even necessarily need HP Fire to hit the Scizor. He could just use like all that pummeling boosted off of Focus Blast. So I'm thinking that there's a chance that he still brought an offensive Magirna. And I'm just going to skip forward to the Ho-Oh real quick. If he does have an offensive Magirna, I think it'll definitely be a Spadef Ho-Oh. Because that's kind of his best way otherwise to deal with Arceus. Like, I don't have, like, with a Calm Mind set, I could have like Calm Mind T-Bolt. But T-Bolt still won't like one-shot a Ho-Oh because it's so bulky. So he might choose to bring Ho-Oh as his designated Arceus response rather than Magirna, and then leave Magirna in an offensive role. Lottie, it's probably a lure set this week. It's going to have probably EQ and potentially even HP Fire for Heatran and Scizor respectively, just because those are my two best ways to kind of check the Magirna. So if he can use Lottie to eliminate those two mons, it puts him in a much better position. Slowbro makes sense. Besides being just a scary mon in general, it's also his best way to switch into my Metacham, which I've elected to leave on the bench this week. And then, yeah, like I said, I already talked about Ho-Oh and how I think it's probably Spadef this week. So I don't really have an amazing lead in this matchup, to be honest. I could just do the lazy thing and lead with Archeops and use it as a Choice Scarf lead. But I'm going to lead with Piloswine instead, just because I feel like versus like maybe 3 or 4 of the 6 Mons that he has on the team, Piloswine does okay. Like versus Lando, Weavile, and even potentially Lottie, it does okay. Not really versus Magearna. It's not that great versus Magearna, but you know, I could maybe threaten it with Earthquake. I guess it depends on what sort of set that he thinks I could bring. I did bring a fast Piloswine in my week 2 match, so he has to keep that in mind. If I can lead with Piloswine and get up my rocks early, it's going to make it quite a bit easier to deal with something like Ho-Oh, which is definitely looking spooky versus my team. Because I have like my Arceus to hit it, Primarina could switch into it and threaten it with water type moves, and then my Archeops can threaten it with Rock Stab. But otherwise, it does a pretty good job of handling my team. So anything I can do to whittle that thing down is going to be worth it. So with that said, we're going to hop on into this battle, click play, and he is going to lead with his Slowbro versus my Piloswine, unfortunately. So definitely not the lead matchup that I wanted. I'm now going to go into my Primarina to absorb this potential Scald, and he is going to throw that off. Shows to be not special attack invested, really, which is nice for me. I'm going to double as he switches on here into the Magearna. I guess like doubling into Heatran might have been a slightly better play than doubling into Scizor. But Scizor, like if he wanted to stay in with Scald, like Scizor would not have taken as much from Slowbro. And if he wanted to stay in versus like him going for Scald again versus Premier doesn't really make sense. But if he wanted to click it, Scizor is a lower risk play than going into Heatran. And then if he wants to go instead for like a Psychic type move or something like that to try and hit Premier a little harder, Scizor can punish that fairly well. And then it does kind of cover the Magearna switch in. I'm not going to die to an HP Fire with my spread. And then like I can threaten. Well, threaten is a relative term. I can do a little bit of damage with like my potential Steel type moves, whether it's Iron Head or Bullet Punch. And like any damage that you can get on this Magearna is good for Arceus. So I just decided to go for U-turn in this spot because he might switch out, just like I said, to preserve as much HP as possible for Arceus. And if he does want to go for HP Fire instead, at least I can get a slow U-turn into my Heatran in that case. So I am going to do that as he fires off a Focus Blast. Does a decent chunk of damage. Reveals that it's not very special attack invested, if at all. And then the U-turn damage does about 10%. It shows that he's max HP, but probably doesn't have any, if much, Fizdef investment. So it's looking like a Spadef Magearna. So the fact that it's Spadef means it's a little bit less likely that it's set up. Whether it's like Trick Room or Shift Gear or something like that, it's a little bit less likely. He could be still Akaberry. I don't know that for sure. But I am still going to go to my Heatran because it's my best play at this moment, and I want to fire off a Magma Storm. I'm hoping to catch the Slowbro coming in, but he goes Lottie instead, which is a little bit less good. And even worse than that is the fact, of course, that I missed the Magma Storm. Trapping the Slowbro would be really nice with Magma Storm because then I can throw off a Dark Pulse and potentially take it out. But that didn't end up happening. Going into like trapping Lottie is not as amazing for me. But at least I could then guarantee that he's not going to double out, and I can go into potentially Primarina on a predicted Earthquake, or I could go into Archeops in that situation. But I miss, so it doesn't really matter either way. So yeah, the Earthquake is definitely going to come out from him. That's what I'm expecting. Surf also is a possibility. So to cover both of those plays, I'm going to go into Primarina and take the Earthquake fairly well. He does show the Life Orb, which is a little bit spooky. It's at this moment that I realize that Healing Wish Lottie would be a pretty major problem for my squad, because he can play fairly recklessly with his Magearna early game, and then if he can Healing Wish it up with Lottie, that is going to put me in a really bad position, especially if I let things like my Heatran or my Primarina get weakened, because then I don't really have anything to switch into it at all. So I'm hoping that I can eliminate this Lottie before it has a chance to go for Healing Wish, if that is a move that he has. I don't know for sure because we didn't share teams for good reasons, of course. Like I'm not, he's still going to be doing the same thing as me in this battle, revealing very little about his sets. But anyway, so now Primarina is going to be threatening the Moonblast since I did switch in on the Lottie. I'm just going to throw off a Scald, expecting him to probably go into the Magearna here. Him going into Ho-Oh was a possibility as well, and Scald covered that too. And we get pretty lucky, and we land a burn. So starting to make up a little bit for the Magma Storm miss that we observed. And so I'm going to double into my Heatran on his Magearna, I'm not going to double, I'm going to switch it to my Heatran as he doubles into his Ho-Oh. And so once again, I don't, I'm expecting this thing to have Earthquake coverage for my Heatran. So I'm going to make a prediction and go into my Archeops here, as he does throw off that Earthquake. So this is nice. I can just go for the U-turn because he's obviously going to be fearing the Rock type move. He's going to go into his Slowbro, and I'm going to crit his Slowbro, which is going to put him in a pretty unfortunate position because now I can go into my Choice Banded Scizor and threaten it with a very powerful U-turn. Based on that crit damage from the U-turn, it doesn't seem to be fully Fizz Def. Like, it might have a good bit of Fizz Def investment, but it's not bold natured. So he should switch out because a 252 Adamant Choice Banded Scizor can potentially take this thing out. He'll probably just go into Ho-Oh or something like that. So if he hadn't been crit, he would not have been in range of this U-turn, but because I can go into Scizor here, I can scare him out that way. And so yeah, he does bring in the Ho-Oh. I'm able to go for the U-turn once again. And based on the damage from this U-turn, and I think the damage that I did to it previously, no, this is the first time I'm doing damage to Ho-Oh. It does not seem to have Fizz Def investment, so it kind of confirms that I think this Ho-Oh is Spadef as a way to handle Arceus. But if he is Spadef, I can go into my Arceus here and threaten it with Stone Edge. I'm hoping he stays in with Ho-Oh, feeling relatively secure versus an unboosted Archeops, or not Archeops, Arceus. I'm going to throw off that Stone Edge. But unfortunately for me, he's going to switch on out of here. He's going to go right on into his Lando. So I'm not going to be able to catch the Ho-Oh here. I do get a crit, though, on the Lando. So getting pretty lucky here. Like, I did miss that Magma Storm earlier, but I got the burn on Magearna. I got the crit on the Slowbro, and then I got a crit on the Landorus. This crit damage on the Lando reveals that he's not bulk invested. So now that I'm looking at the team, like, Choice Scarf Lando is actually looking very good versus my squad, and it gives him another way to potentially revenge kill Arceus. He has both Weavile and Lando. I need to basically eliminate one of those two Mons, and then my Arceus can be in position to win, because Arceus can take one hit from either of them, but can't take hits from both of them. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do for the rest of this game, trying to figure out how to get rid of Lando or Weavile. It's not going to be easy, spoiler alert. But anyway, I don't want to let this Arceus get weakened. I'm going to go into Piloswine, and he is just going to go for the U-turn. I didn't really have a way to prevent that, unfortunately. And then now he goes into his Magearna. So if this Magearna is the set that I thought before with Fight Z, I don't really have a good switch into this. I could go into Primarina, like expecting that, because I do resist, of course, the Fight Z. But Primarina's HP is too important to do that. Like, it's my best switch into Ho-Oh, Lottie, and Weavile, and kind of Lando, to be honest. So I don't want to take unnecessary damage on that if I can. Fight Z will kill Scizor, it'll kill Heatran, it'll kill Archeops, it'll obviously kill Arceus. And so I kind of make a tough call here and leave my Piloswine in to deal with this Magearna. If he kills me, then so be it. If on the off chance he decides to do something crazy like Shift Gear or Trick Room versus this Piloswine, that's not all that bad. Like, I can leave it in and hit it up with an EQ and take it out. I guess if he's Sugar Berry, that wouldn't work out, but I don't think Sugar Berry is his most likely item. Aqua Berry and Fight Z are two more likely items. And so I do decide to leave it in here, and he does get that burn damage. He is going to fire off what turns out to be a all-out pummeling. So unfortunate that I had to let Piloswine go down. I got crit, which is hilarious. Obviously that didn't matter, but I can't get up my rocks now because I did elect to let Piloswine go down. But the fact that he was Fight Z, of course, means that he was not Aqua Berry, which means that my Heatran is going to be feeling pretty good about coming into here now. And we do outspeed this Magearna, of course. And the Ho-Oh is going to come in here, and I'm going to fire off a Magma Storm. I could have thrown off a, like a Dark Pulse, expecting his Slowbro or his Lottie to come in. But I choose not to do that. Because, it's not going to kill either of them in one hit. Like Slowbro, it might die to the combination of Magma Storm damage plus the trap damage plus Dark Pulse. So I need that little bit of extra chip anyway. So at least the Ho-Oh is in here. It's not going to be able to switch out. And I'm going to once again switch into my Primarina. And he's going to go for Earthquake. it's not going to do a lot of damage. And then I'm expecting him to switch out versus my potential water move. And I'm going to fire off a Moonblast. But he stays in and goes for Brave Bird and does a chunk of damage, almost 50%. So definitely puts me in a bad position here. The fact that I kind of over-predicted. And he was able to get off a big Brave Bird versus me. So I don't really want to leave my Primarina in here to die. Like, it doesn't have much defensive value at this point. But at least I can use it as a sack. If I were him, I would go for EQ here, because it covers the potential Heatran switch in, to dodge that. I would switch it in because I take less from Brave Bird, my Heatran, of course. But then EQ should kill both Heatran and Primarina. So expecting an Earthquake, I actually go Arceus, or not Arceus, Archeops. Keep on switching their damn names. But I go Archeops. He's going to go for Brave Bird, and he's actually going to crit, which is really, really unfortunate. Like, I knew Archeops would survive, potentially. Like, or when I say survive, it would remain out of Defeatist's range versus a normal Brave Bird. But because he crit, he is going to bring me into Defeatist, which really, really stinks. So, I mean, nothing we can do about it, right? Like I said, you know, we got a couple of crits earlier in the game, like on Lando and on Slowbro. So the fact that he's now getting some crits on his end is perfectly fair. But anyway, I think I'm just going to U-turn here. Hopefully he switches out. And because he should still die to a rock type move, right? And so he does switch into his Magearna. Excuse me, my throat's really dry. And I'm going to U-turn on into Heatran. And then I think I throw off yet another Magma Storm here. I don't quite recall when that's happening. But yeah, he does go into Lottie. And I actually reveal the Stone Edge. And so I hadn't revealed this in the match up to this point. But if you wanted to go Ho-Oh once again versus my Heatran, I wanted to try and hit it with that very, very powerful Stone Edge if I could. But we don't get that chance. And now we are left in here with our Heatran versus a EQ Lottie. I'm hoping that he, like, for some reason over-predicts here. Like, if I want to go into Archeops, anticipating another Earthquake, or maybe he anticipates Scizor to come in and goes for HP Fire or something like that. I decide I want to leave my Heatran in here and throw off a Dark Pulse, because I don't think it'll one-shot. But it might one-shot after some Life Orb recoil. We'll have to see. But I do just stay in. And he is going to fire off a Thunderbolt. So he was expecting, it seems, the Archeops to come in. So we got pretty lucky there that he did over-predict. But as you can see, he does get the Paralysis, which is unfortunate. All we need to do is just break out here. And we'll be able to put this Lottie in a pretty crippling position. And then, unfortunately, we do get fully paralyzed. Excuse me. So that definitely sucks. Because if he is able to Healing Wish his Magearna up, that's going to put us in a really bad position, because I don't have, like, especially now that this Heatran is paralyzed, I don't have a great way to do a lot of damage to Magearna. We have to find some way to, I would have had to find some way to whittle it down. So anyway, I am going to switch out now, because I want to try and preserve the Heatran. And I'll go into my Scizor as he fires off an EQ here. And he gets a crit on the Scizor. So it's so funny. Like, we just gone back and forth with all the hacks in this match. Maybe the next time it'll be a little bit cleaner. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm not really sad about it. So if he is Healing Wish Lottie, I still think he wants to preserve the Lottie for healing up his Magearna. He cannot live a Choice Banded Bullet Punch. From me, assuming he is not bulk invested, he doesn't seem to be. And so I'm expecting him to switch out, and I'm going to go for a U-turn, anticipating that. And luckily, we do get that play correct. Ho-Oh comes in, and we're going to be able to U-turn. And I'm going to go into my Arceus once again. And so last time I versus this Ho-Oh, I did reveal my Stone Edge, so I don't think he's going to stay in here. So with that, my best play is definitely throw off a Judgment. Judgment is either going to kill his Lando if he brings it in, it's going to kill his Lottie, it's going to kill his Slowbro. If he goes into Magearna, I can follow it up with a Fire Blast to take that thing out. The only thing that he could potentially go into to lift the Judgment is Weavile. But going into Weavile when I've shown Stone Edge, I think it would be a little ambitious. So I don't expect the Weavile to go in. So I'm just going to throw off the Judgment and try and get a kill here. And he does go into the Magirna. After the Judgment goes off here, I'm going to be able to follow up with Fire Blast. And as long as I connect, I will be able to eliminate this Magirna. I could go for Judgment, but it looks like it's a roll versus a fully Spadef Magirna at this point. So I don't want to take any sort of risks there. And now he does go on back into his Lando. And again, I think this is a Scarf set. So I'm now going to sack off my Primarina. Just because it doesn't have enough HP to really be useful versus anything. He U-turns into Weavile. Which makes sense, I suppose, because he can, pretty easily revenge kill with just like knockoff here. And he's actually going to show the Life Orb, and so I'm actually a little bit more grateful that he's Life Orb rather than something like Choice Band. Like a Choice Band at low kick would do a lot more damage to Arceus potentially, but we should be able to live a Life Orb as long as we're at full. But we still need to find a way to get rid of Lando or Weavile for my Arceus. If we could do either of those things, it puts us in a pretty good position. Because then my Arceus can take one and potentially sweep. But I am going to go on into my Heatran now. And so what I'm hoping with this is that my Heatran is going to telegraph to Gypsy that I'm Chople Berry. And so if I'm Chople Berry, he's going to go for low kick. I would survive. And then I could kill it with Fire Blast. And then that puts me in the position that I just described, where I've killed one of either Weavile or Landorus, and it puts Arceus in a much better position. So if I am Chople Berry, he can't reasonably stay in and go for low kick. This Weavile is too important. So he should switch on out, probably into Lottie. And anticipating that, I am going to click Dark Pulse. And all I need to do is break out of Paralysis, and I can do a pretty good chunk of damage versus this Lottie. And that's exactly what's going to happen, so we're going to eliminate his Lottie. So, pretty happy with that sequence of plays. Definitely put me in a good position here. And now he's going to go into his Lando. And so, here, this is a tough play. Because if a moment ago, he just had his Weavile in versus my Heatran. If he switched out expecting me to be Chople Berry Heatran, then he should not want to go for a superpower with his Lando versus my Heatran here. He should want to go for EQ. And so if he wants to go for EQ, going into Archeops is my play. And then so we're gonna do that. Go into Archeops, and he is going to unfortunately hit us up with a superpower. So we're gonna lose our Archeops here. It's was our best way to revenge kill this Lando, which is almost certainly Choice Scarf, like I said. It also can potentially one-shot Ho-Oh. So it definitely puts us in a unfortunate position that we've lost that here. But on the bright side, because he is minus defense, I can go into my Scizor, I can threaten the Bullet Punch, and scare it out, and then I'm just going to follow up with a U-turn once again. The reason that I was sure that he was going to switch out there is because it's looking like EQ Lando at this point can sweep as long as he gets off one hit on my Arceus. And so I figured he would want to preserve that and not sack it to Bullet Punch here. So I'm going to switch into Arceus Dark now. Again, I don't think that he's going to stay in with his Ho-Oh now that I've shown Stone Edge. So he's just going to sack off his Slowbro to my Judgment. That's definitely his best overall play, because it leaves both his Weavile and his Lando intact. And so now he goes Weavile. And this is a tricky situation, because he's going to go for low kick. And it pretty much is going to kill a member of my team, or it's going to get tremendous damage off on this Arceus. Like if I were to sack off Heatran, I could then go into Scizor, threaten Bullet Punch, potentially U-turn on the incoming Ho-Oh once again. But it kind of, like, that just pretty much puts me in this exact same situation again. But I haven't really done anything to his team. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, if I sack Heatran, go into Scizor, he'll then pivot out of his Weavile into his Ho-Oh. I U-turn, go back into Arceus. But then I guess either he goes and sacks Lando or sacks Weavile. But I felt like it accomplished more to stay in and kill this Weavile than to try and go through that loop again just for a chance to kill either his Weavile or his Lando. because if I go for Stone Edge, like, it'll kill Weavile, but it won't kill the Lando, and then the Lando has an opportunity to go for Superpower versus me. If I go for a Judgment, then he goes into his Weavile, it's not going to kill it, and then he has an opportunity to go for a Low Kick versus me. So, like, it's a little bit too uncertain. I'd rather just stay in here, take the Low Kick, and then fire off a Stone Edge and try and kill the Weavile. I could go for a Fire Blast, but if he has some HP investment, Fire Blast actually has a chance not to kill from 81% HP. So Stone Edge I thought was the better overall play. And so now he goes Lando, and here I do decide to stack off my Heatran, and then I go on into my Scizor next. And then this is pretty much the rest of the game here. So I can kill his Lando with Bullet Punch. Or I could probably kill his Lando with Bullet Punch. And if I do that, I should win the game, because then Ho-Oh will come in and kill my Scizor, and then my Archeops will come in and hopefully kill his Ho-Oh, assuming that I hit. And so he should know that. Like he should know that that's my way to win. That's like one way to win. And so then if he goes into Ho-Oh, like, then I can U-turn, and then get my Arceus back in, and then I'm kind of in a similar position where I threaten the Ho-Oh with Stone Edge. Then I have to decide if he's going to stay in with his Ho-Oh expecting the Judgment, or if he's going to go into Lando and predict the Stone Edge. But, like, I feel like, because it's a very difficult thing to explain, because it's like, he knows that I know that he knows, right? Like, if he knows that he should go into, if he knows that I know that he should go into Ho-Oh here, and that I predict a U-turn, like, then he should stay in with Lando and just go for a EQ versus me. But if he wants to do that and go for EQ versus me, then I should click Bullet Punch. So that's kind of what I settle on. I go back and forth and click Arceus and then cancel and click Bullet Punch and whatever, but I do settle on Bullet Punch. And unfortunately, he's going to get the better of me and get his Ho-Oh into here. So definitely bummed about that, because there's pretty much no situation now where I can win, because he is going to kill my Scizor here, and then my Arceus will come out, and so even if I bring in my Arceus here, and I mean, obviously that's what I do because I don't have anything else left, even if I predict his Lando to come in, and I click Judgment, he'll get off the Intimidate, and then my Stone Edge will not be able to kill this Ho-Oh. So there's pretty much no way that I can win at this point. And so he is just going to go on into his Lando. I'm going to throw off the Stone Edge, and I'm not even going to be able to kill this Lando, and he's going to be able to fire off that Superpower and eliminate the Arceus. So it's going to end up being a 2-0 loss to Gypsy King. It stinks because there were a few situations where I think we could have pulled out the game. Like, you know, kind of like all those different late game scenarios with the Lando and the Archeops and the Arceus and everything like that. But let it be known that I did have a 3-2 lead on Gypsy at one point in this game, and that I'm pretty proud of. Like, I didn't think that it was going to end up being as close as it was. So, you know, the fact that we were able to make it so exciting versus the GOAT, I think is something that I'm pretty proud of. So it is going to drop us to 3-1 on the season, unfortunately, but we still have a very good record, plus 10 differential. I don't know for sure, but we still might be in second overall in the league. And yeah, like, we're just going to brush this off, look forward to our playoff rematch, and then look forward to our Week 5 match. So we are going to be playing up against the Flying Bird for Week 5. He is a very scary team with Tapu Koko, Zygarde, and Mega Metagross. So hopefully we can find a way to bounce back and catch a W versus him, and then continue our pretty successful season. So shout out to Gypsy for the great match. If you guys aren't already subscribed to his channel, of course, make sure you go down to the description below and check him out. And while you're down there, I would really appreciate it if you left a like and dropped a sub, so that way you can stay up to date on all my latest and greatest BBL, Pokemon, and other gaming content. So, until the next time, I'll see you guys later.